minutes because I was scheduled to go live at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And YouTube and I have been fighting about that. I tried 3 different ways of getting live and none of them worked. So I'm on the phone now, as you can tell. So I'm gonna set this up on a tripod so I'm not holding the phone the whole time, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully you can hear me, and I'm going to link over where I should be. I'm going to tell you guys where I am. So sorry about the wait. If you are watching this now and you have no idea what I'm talking about, or if you're watching this later on, you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm late. YouTube and I, we had some technical difficulties today. Let me go over and do this on the computer box. Go to content. Let me grab a link to this, share, sorry y'all, copy link. Let me come over here. Okay, so we're here today to talk about Mexico City and the, what am I saying? Frequently asked questions I get about life in Mexico City. So give me 1 second and I will, doing too much. I'm trying to type online and talk to you at the same time because otherwise the beginning of this video is gonna be super, super boring for you. So let me, you're looking at my hand. I'm over here. Sorry that you're looking at my hand right now, but typing and holding the camera was too much. Okay. All right, so let me get this set up now. Someone found me already. Hey, person who found me, sorry, but this is such a cluster. The chance of me going live and not having technical difficulties is very, very small. So here I am, I'm back. How late am I? Starting this 20 minutes late because YouTube and I could not get it together. Yeah, tried lots of different things this morning, none of them worked. But I'm here, and we're talking about the questions that come up in Mexico City. I have those questions already that people always ask me, but you can write your questions in the comments to this video, not the last one, because I had nothing going on over there. Hey, Venus found me. Hey, hey, hey. So sorry about all of that this morning. I'm getting like that wheel of death when I tried to go live from my computer. Just kept going. And when I tried different methods and it all did the same thing. I actually don't know if you can hear me with these headphones. Hold on 1 second. Okay, the sound should be better now. Hey, 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 hey. Okay, if you have questions, drop them in the comments of this video. Now I'm gonna find out where it is on my laptop so I can actually answer questions you drop in the comments. I hate going online and then being like, this is all a clusterfuck, but it is. I have the questions. But yes, drop yours in the comments if you have them. When I go find this live so I can see your questions. If you're new here and you've stuck around this long, my name is Rashida. I live in Mexico City. This is my second time living here. I moved here in November of 2020. I live in Polanco, which is a neighborhood in Mexico City. I lived here in Roma Norte from May of 2019 to October of 2019. I would have been here longer, but I went back to the US and I got hurt and I had surgery and then there was a pandemic, so I didn't get a chance to come back. But I'm here now. All right, so let me see how to find your live comments. That's my story. So I love Mexico City. I visited here maybe 5 times before I moved here. Love it, love it, love it here. Really glad to be here. And I love encouraging people to move down. If you've seen some of my content already on YouTube, you know that Mexico City isn't probably the number one city for a lot of people when it comes to different towns in Mexico. There are a lot of other really great options, but Mexico City has always had my heart, which is why I'm here now. Okay. So, hey Venus, hey Bridget, hey Dixie, Robin, and Kev. Thanks for showing up. Sorry I'm late, but we're gonna do this. Okay. So, starting on my list of questions that people have asked me. Uh, okay, Venus's question: how are you able to fund your life in Mexico City, and can you use your credit card to get money from the ATM? And Bridget asks, how's the healthcare there? Okay, let's start with the healthcare. I have only had, I want to talk about my personal experiences because everyone's going to have a different experience here. Um, I've only seen an eye doctor in town. I have an eye thing that I've had for a long time, and it doesn't need constant attention, but when it needs attention, it needs like immediate attention, or like I could go blind. So I really try to pay attention to it and take care of it. I had a flare up when I was here in on my career break in 2018. Um, I think I'd been in Mexico about a month or less, probably less than a month. Um, and I realized because of the flare up, I realized that I was allergic to corn. It's not like a strong allergy. I can eat it, but my body does weird things when I eat corn. A lot of other foods as well, but corn is one of them. And because I'm in Mexico, I'd been eating corn at breakfast, lunch, and dinner because it's a staple down here in a lot of the foods. And so my eye flared up and I had to go to a doctor. And I had two visits with the doctor. He sent out to get a prescription and had someone in his office go get them and bring it back for me. And the doctor's visit was like that visit and the follow-up, I think, were like $100. Um, all that to say, this is a retinal specialist. I had a flare. I saw him on the same day. There was no wait. I got the medications before I left the office. He did a slight procedure where he put a little injection in my eye. We don't need to talk about that now. There's a video with more information on YouTube if you're interested. I have something called iritis or ulcerative scleritis. So if you know of anyone, my eye just gets really red and light sensitive and terrible. The point, healthcare. Uh, it was $100. When I have a flare in the US and I call a doctor's office, they're like, come in next week. I'm like, no, 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 it's an emergency. And they're like, okay, we can come in today. But then I'm there and I'm waiting for like 6 hours. I have legit retinal specialists for some reason. They don't schedule. It's a mess. I have legit waited in a waiting room for 6 hours before I tell the guy like I'm going to come back to you. I like your service, but I'm never doing that again. So you got to get me to the front of the line when I come in. And we did. We had an understanding. We did that. Um, and then I've had other ones where it was like, oh, I'm sorry you waited for 4 hours, but that's just how we do things here. And I'm like, well, then why schedule my appointment if all I'm going to do is sit around in your lobby for 4 hours? Anyway, had an urgent need, saw the doctor same day, two visits, eye drop prescriptions, minor procedure in my eye, $100. So excellent healthcare, good service, cheap. I like it. Like I said, I haven't had anything else done down here, but I know of other people who have had healthcare who have no problems. Um, if you're asking about the quality, as far as I can tell, the quality is high. If you're not using the public health system. I'm not saying the quality of the public health system is low. I'm saying you're going to get better care in the private system. But isn't it always like that, right? Like that's no surprise to anyone. Um, okay. How are you able to fund your life in Mexico City? That is a very personal question, Venus, but we're going to talk about that anyway. I run a couple of businesses and I am retired. So that sounds incongruous. Let me walk you through that. I was a lawyer. I practiced for over a decade. Um, got laid off. No, no worries, Vitas. We're all friends here. We can talk about this. I had a lot of money saved. I've been saving for retirement since I have put money towards retirement out of every check I've gotten since I was 18. Like the checks when I was 12, like when I was working, ooh, when I was 12 and being underpaid by people I won't mention in this video. Um, of course, there was no saving for retirement then. But the minute I turned 18 and I could put money into retirement funds, I have every single check since I was 18. And don't let there have been a company match because I was going to get all of it. Um, and so I have retirement funds put away, which I'm actually not touching right now. So you didn't need that story, but I give it to you anyway. It's also, I guess, evidence that I'm a good saver. So I had money saved that I'm using to fund some of my life down here. I am one of the co-owners of Exodus Summit, which I am sure you've heard about if you're here. It is a summit that we put on last year to help Black women leave the US and go live their best lives wherever that takes them. Um, and so I get money from that. I coach people about how to leave the US, how to move to Mexico, how to take a career break. I am a career break coach. So that is what I do. So I work less than I used to, and I still somehow call myself retired. Um, I think I'm holding on to the retired because like when I don't want to work, I don't work. If I want to take a month off, I do. So when I work, it's because I want to and I want to help people and there's something that I'm excited about doing. But other than that, I do whatever I want. Okay, so that's the how I fund it part. Like, yes, Venus, I saw your comment. I am a very good steward of finances, and that's how I fund it. Um, okay, and so can you use your credit card to get money from the ATM? ATMs, I swear to you, it's some kind of like I don't know how to explain it. It's a global network. So yes, anything you can do with your credit or debit card in the US, you can do in any country around the globe. There are like 2 or 3 ATM networks. It's a worldwide thing. You can do whatever you want. There are some tips in my last video. I'll link it below. Let me make myself a note. Um, I I give tips on how to keep more of your money when you go to the ATM so that because you can lose a lot of money when you're taking money out of the ATM if you're not paying attention to how the different ATMs try to trick you. So I will make a note to link to that in the comments on this video on the replay. So there'll be a video of how to save, how to keep more of your own money is what it's called while traveling. And I will link that around 12:44 for you guys. Okay. Um, but yes, you can use your credit card to get money out of the ATM. Um, Venus asks, were you able to open a bank account in Mexico City without being a permanent resident? You can open one, I believe, as a temporary resident and as a permanent resident, but you do need your residency card to open one. There is a workaround if you want a local ATM card that someone told me about. There are some services down here that will give you a card without you having like a debit card without you having a bank account. I think it's like a prepaid kind of situation, but I haven't done that yet, so I don't want to speak about it. Let's see. And yes, Venus, I had a flare earlier this year with my eye, but I'm better as of today. Uh, Dixie asks, have you noticed any changes in the charm of Mexico, seeing that there are so many of us jumping on the train to get there? No. And I'm not that you are, but I'm not one of those people that thinks places are less special when there are more people that look like me there, and that happens often. And I know it's kind of how we've heard people talking about places like Tulum in the past 6, 12 months or so. Like, oh, everybody's there. That doesn't make it less special. But Mexico City isn't a tourist town, so while there might be more of us here, I think I told you guys I'm bad with population counts, but I think in one of these videos I gave you the population size of Mexico, and I think it's like 25 million. If there are 1,000 more people, tourists down here a month, a week, and who are coming to stay in a city with a population of 25 million, yeah, it don't really doesn't really matter. I think that's the number. I could be totally making that up. It's a big city. Like I don't I'm the only Black person in my building, in my my building has, and I say my building, my complex has 4 towers that are all 30 floors or more. I am the only Black person I see all day long. I'd love it if more people were down here. I would love it. Come join me. It's great. There are other Black people in the city, but it's a huge city, very spread out, dense population. And so I don't see people who look like me. It's rare, but anyone in my building speaks English to me. Like I don't know how many Americans there are in this building because I don't hear them speaking English. So it's not like anything has lost the charm. Okay, let's see. Dixie asks, speaking of a summit, is there still a code we can use? A code for what? I think you have my email address. Dixie, email me and ask me specifically what you're looking for. Um, if you want replays of the summit, they are free for the first 48 hours. And then after that, if you want access, you can pay for 2-year access. There's no code for anything as far as if that's what you're talking about, the access to the summit. If there's something else, shoot me an email, or if you don't, you can put a message here if you want to. All right. Venus credit cards you recommend. That's also in the how to keep more of your money video. So I'm definitely going to link to that. I always recommend that if you build loyalty to brands you want to work with. So travel cards are great at giving you, not charging you foreign transaction fees, which is one of the most important parts for me in having a card down here, is I don't want to pay an extra $9 or whatever the number is every time I swipe my card. So not having foreign transaction fees is really important to me. So I get cards that are like branded for travel, which are usually really good with that. I have American Express Platinum. They say the fee on that one might go up, so I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to have that one. I have a Delta card because I fly Delta. I used to fly Delta all the time. Love Delta. And then a Marriott card because Marriott was who I stayed with. And so that's how I get my cards. Like, what is the travel brand I use? Get their card, get their perks. And the status and all the stuff, the status in the brand so I can get upgrades, etc. All that stuff. So that's how I get cards or what I decide on. There are lots of online sites that will help you decide the best card for you and will help you do the most points and miles, sign up bonuses if you want to do that. I don't have that for you today. Sorry. That's just not where I am. All right. Hey, Shida, how is it to visit now? What's open, closed? What do you think the experience would be? I think I've been there 6 times, so I don't need a lot of tourism to sustain myself. Kev, you're not going to get a lot of tourism down here right now. Things are opening up. So like the Frida Kahlo Museum, I don't think it ever closed. I think it was like, we're going to slow down when we're staying open. But the Archaeology Museum has been closed. I got here in October. I came to visit in October, stayed through December, and then moved back in December. And it's been closed almost this entire time. Museo Sumaya is open, so is Jumex in Polanco. So there are some museums that are open and are doing a really good job with it. Bellas Artes was open the last time I went there, probably in January. But a lot of things are still closed. And the things that are closed feel like they're going to be closed until the pandemic is over, whatever that means, right? Like the Archaeology Museum does it need to be closed right now? I don't know. But it's not open. From the last information I had, which was like last week. Okay. So yeah, if you don't need a lot of tourism, come down. Restaurants are open. The pyramids are open to visit, but you can't climb up them. Yeah, lots to do, but it might just be a little different than your last visit. Okay. Oh, Jess, Questions. All right. Can you link to the Facebook Black expat groups and CDMX? I don't have a link available now, Jess, but I will put it in the description for the replay. So I'm going to make myself a note. Expat groups. How do you navigate your social needs? Girl, I don't. My bubble is very small down here. I've seen like 1 or 2 people down here that I know. Not a lot of social going on. Planning to move the next 4 to 5 months. Looking forward to making a few connections prior to moving. The expat groups will be really helpful for you, Jess, in making connections. I don't know how much people are actually getting together down here. I've seen some people get together in large groups, maskless. I'm not at those things. I hope they have a lot of fun, but large maskless groups are not for me. So I have not done large group events. Okay. Dixie asked your thoughts on investing in global entry. I love global entry. If I wouldn't do it. I'm traveling so much less now than I used to that if I had to pay for it now, I wouldn't do it. I would wait until I plan on traveling more. Okay, you guys can continue to write your questions. I'm going to move over. I think I've gotten through everything on the list that you guys wrote in. I'm going to go through the ones that were asked before this video started. Okay, so I got a couple different questions about Wi-Fi. One was, is it consistently reliable enough to work remotely? I vote yes. So there are very few times when I've needed Wi-Fi where it hasn't worked for me. Like one time it was right while I was trying to sign on. Like right when I was getting on to go live to do something, my Wi-Fi was like, no, sis, it's not what we're doing. But I mean, I unplugged the modem and plugged it back in and it worked. And so I don't know if that was like a a system-wide thing or whatever, or um, or whether it just something happened with me in my apartment and I don't know. But my Wi-Fi is strong. There are some days where it's not. And I don't know. Someone specifically asked me if um, if I notice when it's strong versus when it's weak, and no, I don't. I haven't been able to correlate the days where my Wi-Fi is like, take a nap instead, right? Like some days my Wi-Fi is telling me like, you can struggle and fight me all day long, or you can just go put this down and go chill. I'm gonna go put it down and chill, right? And then come back in an hour and see what happens. But as far as it being, that's rare. So I've had like 2 or 3 days like that. And I have Telmex. Telmex is the service I have in Mexico City for Wi-Fi, for internet in my apartment. And I have had it since December. I've had 2 days where it wasn't working the way I wanted it to. And I think that's great for working remotely. Okay, talking about Telmex, it was super easy. I had a struggle getting signed up online. I don't know what was going on. I called them. They said they were going to call me back. That was back in December. I still haven't gotten that call back. But after the call to them, I tried for like the 38th time to get it signed up online. It finally worked. I got signed up. Someone came to put it in. I think I did that on a Tuesday, and the installer came on either the Wednesday or the Thursday. It was either the next day or the day after. Installation cost me $50 US, and I pay about $25 US per month, and that includes Netflix. So, and yeah, 2 screens on Netflix, I think. I don't remember. So Netflix and Wi-Fi all month long is $25. And I think it's strong compared to a lot of places I've been. It's not like the strongest on earth. Someone said that they know the internet in Merida is better, in Merida. Yeah, but I wouldn't base your decision to come to Mexico City versus anywhere else on Wi-Fi, because I feel like the Wi-Fi, unless your job includes being on video or uploading video
all the time, I think you're fine. All right. Um, Second question was earthquakes. Dun, dun, dun. If you don't know, Mexico City has a ton of earthquakes. Uh, it's kind of a mess. Mexico City has a ton of uh, earthquakes, and it was not originally built as a city that was meant to withstand earthquakes. So there have been a few different earthquakes that have really impacted the city. It's impacted the way new buildings are built. So the buildings they're building now are built to withstand earthquakes. The older buildings are not built to withstand earthquakes. So if I was moving to Mexico City now, I would not move into an older building that was that had a lot of stories. One, two, three, I'd probably be okay with that. More than that, I don't know. And I also wouldn't move into a building that was in the shadow of a older tall building because you don't know. If you come here, you'll see that the sidewalks, all whatever wherever you are, the sidewalks are buckled and they're like where there's a seam in a sidewalk, it's like this, like you're walking up a hill and then down a little hill, or kind of like very askew. Like all the sidewalks here are very askew when you're walking. They're not very smooth. They're not great for people who have mobility issues. If you're in a wheelchair, you might have a problem with the sidewalks here. And that, as far as I can tell, is because of the earthquake damage. Because when the earth moves, it kind of messed things up. And the city, like I said, wasn't built for that. It's also not built for heavy rain. So if it rains super heavily, um, a lot of the streets back up. Like they'll flood a little bit, not a lot, and it lasts. When the rain stops, the flooding goes away. But things to know. It's not there. I love the city. I always say really nice things about the city, but there are issues. The infrastructure isn't the best. It's better than a lot of cities, and I think it's good for a city this size. Like it's a really huge city, but you don't come here because like the sidewalks are awesome. Like that's that's not why you come to Mexico City. All right. Let me make sure I answered because there's a second question about Wi-Fi. Cha, 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 cha. All right. Question: what types of things did you do to prove that you were no longer living in the United States to avoid state taxes on any of your income? If your is your financial information or business tied to a Mexico address or US? Should a person keep a US PO box? Lots of questions. Let's get to that. I have a US PO box for my business. As an individual, I don't know. I am never going to give you tax advice. Let's go ahead and like I think I have a few things I can tattoo on like my forearms, maybe my neck. One of them is I will never ever give you tax advice. And so what did I do to prove that I'm no longer living in the United States? Nothing. Like the ways to prove our good Uncle Sam has gone out of his way to make sure that no matter where you live in the world, if you make money, they want to cut. So the ways to prove that you should not have to pay them income are so onerous that I've always been like, I'll just pay you and I won't play whatever place you are. So I don't technically make income in Mexico. All of my income is tied to the US. Almost all my clients are US clients. The companies that the accounts I'm paid into are US accounts, all that stuff. So I do not pay taxes in Mexico. I pay taxes in the US. Is there a way to get away from that? Yes. One of them is not being in the US more than a certain number of days a year. And I want to say 30, but that feels like it's too much. Whatever it is, it's really hard to do if you ever visit the US. Like if you ever plan on being back in the US for a year, it's hard to not hit that number. Um, and so I've always just been like, just take your money, whatever. It is what it is. I expect you to be paying taxes in the US. forever. And I'm not going to tell you what you should be doing because you will not get tax advice from me right now. Okay. Um, what do I think is a good area to live in Mexico City? Hoping to do 6 months traveling around Mexico, starting in Mexico City. While there, I want to stay in a neighborhood where I can keep busy doing whatever from volunteering to workout and cultural, near or from an area convenient to travel from. The thing about Mexico City is that so many of the neighborhoods are central. Also, so many of the neighborhoods are good. So I would say, depending on what you're looking for, right? Like if you only want to live with the like expats, you've got Polanco where I live. Um, that's not why I live there. Roma Norte is a good place. Santa Fe is popular, although it's way behind God's back. It's way out there. There are lots of good neighborhoods you can live in, lots of great neighborhoods if you only want to live with expats. If you're open to living anywhere, you just don't want to be in an unsafe neighborhood, I feel like you have more good choices than bad choices. There are very few neighborhoods I've ever been in where I'm like, I don't really feel comfortable here. Even like I was leaving one Airbnb and going to the other, and the old Airbnb, the first Airbnb host, who was trying to be really, really helpful. She had been helpful to me all along. I know she wasn't just hating. Well, it's gonna sound like that in a minute. When I showed her where I was moving to, she was like, "That's an interesting neighborhood," and I was like, "Oh shit! Like, wait a minute, what's about to be happening?" And it is a. I got there and I was like, "Where the hood at? Like, what's going on? Like, what was I? What was? There's nothing. It was perfectly like it was. I felt safe all the time. I was safe there all the time. I felt safe all the time. There was no English in that neighborhood because no one who wasn't from the city or from the country lives there. Like there were no tourists. But I like there was nothing wrong. Now, I have been in neighborhoods where like um I was walking in Roma Norte using my phone as a guide, which I feel safe doing here, just FYI. Using my phone as a guide to tell me how to get from one neighborhood to the other. And I'm or from like one spot. I was probably like chasing food or something. I don't know. So let's just say I'm looking for a restaurant. So I'm walking, and I looked up and I was like, oh, things are different here. I said, oh, wait a minute. I need to get out of here. Like that was my immediate thought was like, okay, this isn't where you were before, and this isn't where you should be. I knew I was going to be okay, but it was time to put everything in my pockets, in my purse, and get the F out of there, right? Because this is not and I didn't feel unsafe, but I didn't want to walk around looking lost, holding my phone, looking for things. It did not feel like a good place to not look like someone who was on a mission. I needed to be someone on a mission, and my mission was leaving that neighborhood. So that was Doctores. I got out of there. Do I feel safe? Did I feel unsafe in Doctores? No, I didn't. Would I live there? No, I wouldn't. Um, and so I think you have a much better chance of finding neighborhoods that you like, that are safe. Most of the neighborhoods I've ever been in here, I feel safe in. It's very rare that I'm like, this ain't for you. And that was definitely one of those this ain't for you moments. Like you're gonna be okay. Like, especially because it was broad daylight. Like I'm not gonna get mugged in broad daylight on a street with like a ton of people walking by. I don't feel like that. Um, but I did feel like, go on ahead and get out of here, girl. Like, let's do that. Okay, let me see what else. If we have more questions. Hey, Empress. All right, let's see. Let's see. Oh, so to that last question, if you have questions about specific neighborhoods, drop those off to me. You can leave a comment here or whatever. If I know anything about the neighborhood, I'll let you know. But I can't tell you like the safe neighborhoods because I feel like most of them are. All right. Um, Top 3 neighborhoods to live in. You will have heard this before. I would say Roma Norte, Condesa, and Polanco. I'm in Polanco because I wanted to be in a new building with floor to ceiling windows. I'm in New Polanco, by the way, because old Polanco doesn't really have a lot of like new builds like this. Um, it's what I wanted. It's what I have. I am not in the neighborhood I wanted to be in. I checked out apartments in the neighborhood I wanted to be in. They did not work for me. And so I got what I wanted where it was available. Uh, the 3 neighborhoods I just mentioned, super popular with expats. They all have nice things going for them. Yeah. Um, People say that Blanco is like the Beverly Hills of Mexico City. I don't feel like I'm in Beverly Hills at all, at all. As someone who grew up in Southern California, I can say like I have been to Beverly Hills. I do not feel like I live in Beverly Hills. There are probably parts of the neighborhood, like the shopping centers, that feel like have a little more of that like upscale feel. But I just it feels like when I used to live in Oakland. That's what it feels like. It feels like Oakland. That's yeah, that's how I'll describe it where I live. Uh, I know Oakland can feel like a lot of different things. So if you know Oakland and this confuses you at all, apologies, but it feels like that's the best way I can describe it. Like there are different, like even my one neighborhood has distinctly different parts to it. It has new fancy, it has older, been around for a while. It's got a lot of different vibes going on here. Okay. Do I have a tourist visa or temporary residency? I am on a tourist visa now. When I go back to the US next month, I'll be applying for my permanent residency. Wish me luck. Wish me luck in getting an appointment because I hear they're kind of rare right now. All right. Um, Recommendations when first recommendations for housing when first arrived, 2 to 4 weeks in an Airbnb. Yes, if you plan on moving down here, I would say go stay in an Airbnb for a while. Find a few different realtors to take you around and show you apartments, a few different ones, because they usually only show you what they specifically have listed. And so you got to get to a few different ones to see a bigger variety. And the way I found that is I called the numbers that were sitting on, like a lot of buildings here will have like a unit for rent and a number up on a sign out front. I just call those numbers, and there's usually an agent at the end of it of that call, and they will show you things. That's what I did. So yes, I would say rent for a while. You don't want to move into an apartment down here that you haven't actually physically been in first. Don't do that. There are smells and views and neighborhoods you don't want. You want to step inside of your apartment first. Okay, a few of you have asked about the dating scene for expats. And so I'm gonna tell you again, because this comes up all the time. I don't know. I don't have any idea. You couldn't. I don't. I have no idea. You could continue to ask me about the dating scene. I don't know when I'll know. It's a whole pandemic outside. Mexico City's numbers were terrible for a while. I was not interested in coming even within like arm's distance of anyone. So dating was not, it wasn't high on my list of priorities. It still isn't. I think I'm becoming a hermit. Someone here knows about dating. It's not me. It's not. When I was here before and there wasn't a pandemic, Tinder was interesting, not fruitful. It was interesting, but not fruitful. I'll put it like that. Okay. Uh, how's my Spanish? Can you get by with little to no Spanish? In Mexico City, I have little Spanish, not no Spanish. I have little Spanish. In Mexico City, I'm usually doing well. There's not as much Spanish here as what is spoken in towns with a high tourist population. But um, but there's enough. So usually, and I know enough Spanish. So usually, how this goes is I'm trying to do something, we're trying to communicate. I've got a little bit of Spanish. They have a little bit of English or no English, and we're working it out, and we're good, and we're good, and we're good. And then they take it a bridge too far. They start like saying something really fast in Spanish that is beyond, not just beyond my comprehension, but beyond my comprehension of this transaction. So like not only did I not understand what you're saying, but I don't understand the context you in, because I think I have all the information I need for what we were doing. Contextually, I think we're done. But now you're saying something else, and I don't know what that means. So usually I can do basic I can do everything I have needed to do here. It's when people are like giving me extra information or like something that's not exactly on point to what we're doing that I'm like, I don't know where we're going. One time it was, and I knew the words, but he said it so quickly I didn't get what he was saying. At the end of the Uber ride, I said bye to the driver, and most drivers just say bye. My driver said something about God being with me. And I was like, what? Because, like, contextually, I'm expecting a bye, right? I'm expecting you to say goodbye. And you're talking about God. But I didn't quite hear you. So now I got to be like, what? And then when I hear you, I get what you're saying. Yes, yes, me and God, we're good. But it wasn't what I expected. And so that's when when my Spanish isn't good enough is when a conversation leaves the parameters of the context I'm expecting. That's probably the best way to say it. When someone is saying something to me and it's not at all what I'm expecting for what's going on, that's when I'm like, ooh, let's slow down and start from the beginning because I don't know I can't place what you're doing here. Okay. Um, how diverse are the food options? On the street I live, within 3 blocks of me, there are probably, I'm thinking in both directions. There are probably 12 or more side of the road food stands. I'm not eating at them in a pandemic, but people are, and they are crowded. Two of those are sushi stands. There are two side of the road sushi stands within 3 blocks of me, and there's a sushi restaurant maybe on block 4. Sushi's just an example. That's legit real. Because I had to take photos of the side of a road sushi because I knew my people wouldn't believe it. Like the stands, like the taco stand on the side of the road, they have taco stands. There's a woman selling pulque in the morning. It's like a corn soup, as far as I can tell. I don't mess with it because corn. We talked about that. There are all these different types of stands, but side of the road sushi was the one that had me like, I don't know about all that. I've seen how you get your ice delivered. I don't know about side of the road sushi. So yes, there are lots of diverse options. I am very close to a barbecue spot. Um, there's sushi. There's Mexican food in restaurants, outside of restaurants. And it's not just okay. When I talk about diverse food, it's not just the types of food because any type of food you want ramen, you can get ramen. Any type of food you want to get, you can get in Mexico City. But you can also pay any price you want to pay. Like, if you want 50-cent tacos, you can get 50-cent tacos. If you want $5 tacos, I can take you a place with 5, 10, $15 tacos. Like, there there are there's a variety in the type of food available. There's also a lot of variety in, like, the how upscale the restaurants here are. So you can eat from, like, super fancy to, like, super not fancy. Which I always want to remind people that when you're coming to visit Mexico City, a lot of people are think like, oh, I'm going to go to Mexico and it's going to be cheap. People don't come to Mexico City because it's cheap. That's not a reason to come. You will get your feelings hurt. Some things you can. vacation cheaply here. You can also spend a lot of money, a lot. I have had multiple meals in the city that for two people were over $400. So you do, these are not things that anyone is required to do. Just if it requires reservations, which a lot of things do now because they have smaller spaces, check the menu before you go. That's all I'm saying. Don't think that everything here is cheap because that is not true and your feelings will get hurt. Okay, let me do that. Come back, see if you guys who are live have any more questions. Kev has not been to a museum since he's been here. Kev, you should go. So they have some like I mentioned the archaeology museum. I said archaeology, it's the anthropology museum. My bad. The anthropology museum is like exquisite. It is, oof, it's an amazing place. But different strokes for different strokes. Kev, you'll have to tell us what you actually do. Since you've been here 6 times, what do you do when you're in the city? We want to know. So drop it in the comments. All right, back to the questions that were asked by people who did not ask them live, but asked them in advance. Let's find out. Do I meet up with people? Back when I lived here, 2019, I loved meeting up with people. 2020, probably not. Like if you're here and we already have a relationship of some sort, yes, I will probably meet up with you. Maybe. If I have never met you before and we do not have a strong relationship, we are probably not going to meet up. I'll probably say hi, I'll tell you what to do. Maybe if there's something going on outside that we can all wear masks and go to, maybe able to do that. Otherwise, I'm like, it's nothing personal, but no. Okay. But yes, when I go get my shot, go back to America next month, and I get vaccinated, I'll be more open to meeting with people. Until then, stranger danger. All right. What's the climate like there? I have arthritis and need warmth. All right, Bridget. It is not a hot city. We're in the mountains. It is like right now, excuse me, right now it's warm during the day and coldish at night. There was a time, my apartment is not very well insulated. I feel like that's another video about the way they build things here. I just don't understand. But there was a time where I had to have a fan on during the day and a heater on during the night. And I mean, it wasn't like super hot. It was probably like in the 80s during the day and then maybe like the 40s at night. Maybe a little warmer. I don't know. Now the windows in my apartment are west facing. So from like 2 to 6, I'm in Central Time. 2 to 6 Central Time, I have to close all the curtains. I have blackout curtains in all the rooms. I have to close all the blackout curtains in all the rooms because otherwise it's just an oven in here. It is just an absolute oven. But if you were to go outside, a lot of times by like 7 o'clock, you want a layer. So it's warm, but I wouldn't move here if you need warmth. You know what I mean? Like it's not, I moved down here in December without a warm coat. So I bought a cute coat since then, but not like a really warm, like layered coat or anything like that. You don't, but I also wasn't going outside because everything was shut down in December because the COVID levels were really crazy here. All right. Are they giving COVID vaccines to the residents there? Great question, Robin. Yes, they are. They're giving COVID vaccines to the citizens. And I think maybe people who have permanent residency. I don't. And so they're like, no, sis. No, not yet. Not for you. Um, they, I'm, if I waited a year, I might be able to get a vaccine down here. But if I can get it next month in Florida, I'll probably do that, even though I'm not really excited about this vaccine, but we don't need to open that door. We'll leave it closed. Um, how do I feel about using cash instead of cards? I almost never use cash. Everywhere I go, I whip out a card. Everyone accepts cards down here, unless it's like a roadside vendor. They take cards, and I use cards because I don't want to be bothered with cash. If I can avoid, I'm a bit of a germaphobe. If I can avoid going to an ATM to get out more cash and pressing those buttons, I want to avoid that. So cards all the time. Plus, it's so easy to be like, here, use this, and just use cards for everything. And I haven't had a problem. Every once in a while, my bank is like, we don't think this is you. And I'm like, it was me yesterday. It's me today. Like, y'all know I'm in Mexico. I've been here for months. Like, why are we playing these games? Uh, but they do that in the US too every once in a while. It was like I bought a bed and a couch, right? And then I tried to buy the mattress that went with the bed. Same store, but two different floors, so I'd buy it in two different transactions. And on the second transaction, my credit company was like, nah, no, we're gonna stop this. Fortunately, I had another card I could use. But most of the time, I have no problem using my cards, so I use them all the time, just like I would in the US. All right. Okay. Let's talk about shorts, which is a really weird thing, but we're gonna talk about this. And if you have more questions, drop them in the comments, and I'll get to them. Okay, shorts. Because I saw this question actually pop up online, and I forgot about it, but it's something to talk about. Uh, so I was in the mall once over in Santa Fe. It's a little fancy. Um, so I'm in the mall hanging out, and I notice that people are looking at me, and I'm getting a lot of looks, and I don't understand why I'm getting some looks. Now, I am openly black, right? Like I don't hide it. It's here. Like this is black. I don't blend in well in the city. And I had blue braids. So like I get that. I get that like the black girl with blue braids walking through the mall might get some looks. But it was more than you I'm a black girl with blue braids that month. I was a black girl with blue braids every other day, and I was getting more looks than usual. And then I realized they're looking at my legs. Like I'm wearing shorts. I looked around, I realized no other woman in this entire mall is wearing shorts. Um, Now, short skirts, yes. Short dresses, yes. So it's not a leg thing, but I have never seen an adult woman in this town wear shorts. I have seen midriffs, I have seen bustiers, I have seen like your entire torso is like uncovered except for like a little bit of cloth in the boob area. I have actually seen women of the night with no cloth in the boob area, but I have never seen another adult woman in shorts. Mhm. So I don't know what it is. I think I read somewhere that they dress more conservatively, which I beg to differ. I think it is a little bit more conservative in the youth than what we often see in the US. But I don't think that spans all of the age scales. Because I don't think the older women are more conservative than US older women. But no, you see girls and boys in shorts. You do not see women in shorts. I don't think you see men in shorts. So when I did a quick little search, I saw that someone said that like, well, if you wear shorts, you can wear shorts, but you look like a tourist. And I'm like, I'm always gonna look like a tourist, right? Like I could live here for 20 years and I will always, at first glance, look like a tourist. Even when we go to stores and people ask, are you visiting? And I'm like, no, I live here. They're like, oh, where are you visiting from? Like the question, they don't interpret it as I actually live here. They interpret that to mean like I'm staying in this neighborhood. Not that I live in this neighborhood, but this is where I'm staying while I'm visiting. Like it's hard for people to hear me say I live in Polanco and actually like understand that I live here. They think I'm visiting for like a couple weeks. Um, so, will I wear shorts? Yes. Do I wear shorts? Yes, but rarer than I would if I was in Florida, but it hasn't been as hot as it is in Florida. So when it gets hot in the summertime again, will I wear shorts? Probably. Cuz like it's not like anyone it's not offensive, right? It's not offensive to anyone because like I said, you see a lot of short and tight here. You'll see a lot of short skirts, you'll see a lot of tight dresses. Shorts aren't offensive as far as I can tell. It's just not something that happens culturally. It's not a choice that women here make. Um, I am a grown up. I'm allowed to make other choices. I don't want to offend anyone, right? So I'm not going to do something that I think is offensive to your culture. But that's never the look I've got. It's never like no one's ever approached me and said this is offensive, or no one's ever like gave me a dirty look. It's always like curious, right? So curiosity is fine. Yes, I'm not from here. I wear shorts. I also have brown skin and have blue braids. So whatever. Um, let's see. Okay, when Kevin's here, he does a lot of tours, mezcal tours, tequila tours, soccer games, food tours, bike tours. He knows a couple of locals. Okay, so that is a lot that you do here. So I can see why you haven't done museums. I'm looking for a good mezcal tour, so we may have to talk about that. All right. Let's see what other questions we have. Cha cha cha. Okay, so Jess says, thanks for the Wi-Fi info. I think you mentioned if you're on video calls most of the day, probably not the best Wi-Fi. I'm a therapist and on video calls most of the day. Um, Not that it's not the best. I think you could be on video calls most of the day, but like once a month, you might have a problem, right? If that is unacceptable, then it's not the city for you. I literally don't know why sometimes, but my Wi-Fi is just like, no, thank you. But it's rare, right? It's rare, um, but it happens. My Wi-Fi is not the strongest Wi-Fi I've ever been on, but I've been live streaming for almost an hour and I haven't, as far as I can tell, have a problem. And if you guys have seen a quality problem, let me know. But it works. You know what I mean? Like I haven't had regular problems. Um, if I needed to be on video all day and having one or two moments where that didn't work, if that was a huge issue, I probably would. I want to say I'd pick another city, or I'd reconsider Mexico City, but I don't know what city you're going to go to where you might not have an issue once a month, right? Like I know Merida's Wi-Fi is stronger, but is it like reliable 100% of the time, right? And I don't think anything in this world is reliable 100% of the time. So I can't say that going somewhere else would be a better choice, but I also can't say that Mexico City is the best choice if you need to be on video all the time. All right. Yes, Jess, I would say the same as US Wi-Fi. I don't see any difference between this and the Wi-Fi I had in the US. Every once in a while, like I've got to unplug it and plug it back in and see what happens. And every time I've done it, it's worked just fine. I don't know what that is. Why does that happen? Um, but I've had to do that. All right. When can I visit? You can visit the city. This is a question I got. You can visit the city anytime. My home is not a hotel. Blessings. Okay. Average cost of living for a modest single person, a range. Whew, I, I hate that question, but it's Okay, can anyone hear me? No, no sound. Oh wait, you can hear me? Okay. Yes. I literally just had to get out and come back in. I don't know why. So now we have to watch me connect this again. Yay. Okay. All right. What was the question I hated? Oh, okay. So the cost of living. It's not that I hate the question, it's just that I don't think there's a good answer. So the I think it's the Earth Awaits tells you that like the you can get a cost of living for like $1,200 a month down here. Um, I think that's inside like the city center, one person living alone. If you live further out, it'll be cheaper. I think someone asked me how I can get I'm back. Someone asked how we can get a cheaper, how I can get it down to 1,000. Um, living further out, um, having roommates. People do that. I know a lot of people down here who do that. Um, cutting back on food, not like the amount I eat, but what and where I eat. There are a lot of different ways. My biggest expense is my apartment, which I've told you guys before is like $1,200 a month. I could pay a lot less in the city. Um, like my water bill is like $2 a month. My water bill is $2 a month. So the city doesn't have to be expensive. I live in the building I want to live in with the view I wanted. So that was one of the things we looked for when I was looking at apartments was like, what do I see when I look out my window? Because I knew that during this pandemic, when I was here, I would be inside a lot and I wanted to be happy when I was inside. I wanted to look at things I wanted to look at. And I live somewhere near a chocolate factory, so I don't even have to open my door. I wake up in the morning and I smell what smells like chocolate chip cookies, but it's really just chocolate from the chocolate factory just wafting in. If I open my door in the afternoon, it hits me like a wave. I also live within walking distance, an eye line of a Corona factory. And so there's this place like in my neighborhood where the chocolate and the hops from the beer, like it's like they've met and they are doing a funny dance. And the smell is just, it's great. Um, I don't drink beer and I haven't been eating a lot of chocolate, but like the scent, I love it. Uh, and I like my view. And so I pay more than I need to live here. But I also didn't pay anything to live for the year before this. I told myself I could have a splurge. After paying nothing on rent, I could splurge for a year if I wanted to. We'll see what happens. Okay. Any more questions? I want to make sure I've covered everything. I know this did not start as planned, but hopefully I can get to all of what you wanted to know. Oh, if you have more questions about Mexico City, you can reach out to me. I do one-on-one sessions. I call them my Ask Me Anything sessions. So you could ask about moving to Mexico City. You can also ask about anything. We'll talk about anything. Um, I also do career break coaching, which I will link to as well. These are all ways to pick my brain, ask me questions. My career break is the thing that actually got me to move to Mexico City because I didn't I didn't know that moving here was possible for me while I was working, like leaving the country just felt like crazy. Like why would who does that? But the world is a different place now, right? Like everything is different. Uh we people can work remotely more than before. And so if you can work remotely and Mexico City sounds like a vibe, might be. Hit me up in an Ask Me Anything session and we can talk about what life is like down here, your specific needs, like Jess, who is a therapist and needs Wi-Fi. We can talk more specifically about companies, the best ones, etc., that kind of thing. Um, Not that you need to do that, Jess, but that was just an example since you mentioned it. Uh, and so yeah, so I'm here for you with that kind of stuff, and always happy to talk to people about my experience in Mexico City. Um, let's see. I'm going to also drop a link to my career break coaching sessions. Oh, if I did not live in Mexico City, Robin, that is a great question. And there are no bad questions. Truly ask me anything. If I did not live in Mexico City, where in Mexico would you live? Um, so I have a lot of friends who live in Playa del Carmen, so that is on the list for the community. San Miguel de Allende is my favorite little town. I just love it, but it's more expensive in Mexico City, and I'm not gonna say it's the middle of nowhere, but it's like 4 hours from Mexico City on a bus. So it feels a little middle of it's that's not fair to Guanajuato. Like it's not the middle of nowhere. But it's definitely like small town living, except that it's filled with Americans and Canadians. That's the thing about Mexico. Okay, I'm gonna drop a link to my career break coaching session for anyone who wants to travel the world and do the damn thing at their pace, living life, living their dreams. Session right there. Okay, finish your question. If you're looking at cities in Mexico, it's important to know whether you want to actually live with Mexicans. And that the answer for most of us is yes. Um, there are, because the point of what I'm trying to say, because I feel like I'm about to sound like an asshole, which is not what I intended. The point of what I'm trying to say is that there are a number of towns or neighborhoods in towns that are overrun with Americans and Canadians. And it's kind of like, why move to Mexico to live with Americans and Canadians? Like, what's what are you doing? Um, San Miguel de Allende is one of those towns where like I love the hub of town. Um, but when you go into the neighborhood, it's where a lot of them go. Which is one of the reasons I'd be kind of like, I don't, I don't know about this. Uh, okay, let's see. My internet thing is kind of tripping now. Okay, let's try this again. Um, okay. Bridget asks, in expat neighborhoods, is the cost of living higher? Definitely. So all the expat neighborhoods I mentioned, the cost of living is going to be higher. Like Polanco, it's not higher because it is an expat neighborhood, but it is higher. It does not help. My building has more people that speak Spanish than don't speak Spanish. But I don't know how many of them are from Mexico. I don't know how many of them are from Mexico City, or if they're from different cities in Mexico, or if they're from different Spanish speaking countries. And so I don't know, like they could be expats from Guatemala. Like I don't know. Um, but the majority of I would say in my building, at least 80 to 85, 80 to 90% of the people I see in my building appear to be native Spanish speakers. Their Spanish is so good, I think it's native. Um, and so with 10% of people in this building from other places, and I think that represents the neighborhood pretty well, it's still an expat neighborhood because that's a high number compared to a lot of the other neighborhoods in the city. So in Mexico City, the expat neighborhoods aren't um, overwhelmingly expat. Like I don't go into. I'm still surprised in Polanco when I am in a store and someone speaks English to me. I can event I every once in a while I can spot an American and like we'll have a tiny conversation. Um, but it's still a surprise. And I live in one of the expat neighborhoods. I lived in Roma Norte, which is another one of the popular neighborhoods with expats. It was rare when anyone spoke English to me. So popular with expats doesn't mean in Mexico City doesn't mean filled with expats. It typically means um, there's more to do. The housing stock is pretty nice. Um, yeah, there's it's without the expat neighborhoods would still be expensive, is my point. Um, the expats don't help, sorry, uh, but they're still expensive neighborhoods, and expats moving here makes it worse. Yeah. All right. I think we are almost out of questions. So unless anybody has anything else, um, I think that's it. All right. Thank you guys. Thanks for showing up and sticking with me through the tech difficulties, which I mean, at this point, expect tech difficulties when I go live. Like that's just what we're gonna do from now on. We're expecting tech difficulties. So what are our truths? I would like to give you tax advice, and you should expect tech difficulties. And I'm sure I've said some other things in other videos that we're going to call truths. I'll make a list one day. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks, Venus. Thanks, Kev. Talk to you guys another day. All right, how do I end this without screwing this up? Boom.